In rural China, there are stories people still refuse to tell at night. Not because they're old, but because too many people swear they really happened. A dead general who appeared in dreams, a faceless thing brought home from a crossroads, and something in the fields that grabbed a man when no one else was there. These are 3 paranormal stories still whispered about in rural China. The first story is about a dead general. According to people in one village, several villagers began having the same dream. In the dream, a man dressed like an old military officer appeared to them. He said his surname was Zhou. He said he had died there long ago during a war, and he told them exactly where he was buried. In the fields, near a tree, at one very specific spot. One person having that dream would mean nothing, but then another person had it. And another. And another. The details were almost the same. So finally, some villagers went out to the place from the dream and started digging. And according to the story, they found human bones, buried exactly where the dead general had said. After that, people began to worship him. They called him Lord Zhou. They burned incense, they prayed, they asked for protection. A path was even built so people could visit the place more easily. For a while, some believed the spirit was guarding the village. But then the story changed. Because over the next few years, people began to say the village was not getting better. It was getting worse. Families had more problems. Money disappeared. Illness spread. Arguments became constant. And slowly, some villagers began to believe that bringing the general out of the ground had not protected the village at all. IT had invited something in. Eventually, the tomb was opened again. And depending on who tells the story, that was the moment the village decided Lord Zhou was never meant to be worshipped in the open. Some say he was moved. Some say he was taken in privately. Some even say people still go to ask him questions. And sometimes he still answers. The second story begins at a crossroads. It came from someone who said this happened when they were in middle school. At the time, their family had moved into a small rented house near a school. The house stood close to a crossroads. Soon after moving in, something felt wrong. The child in the story was always exhausted. Not normal tiredness. The kind that makes your body feel heavy from the moment you wake up. They slept in class. They slept at the table. They went home half awake, as if they were floating instead of walking. Each day, it got worse. Even in summer, they sometimes felt a sudden patch of cold air brush across their skin for no reason. The family grew worried. At first, they thought it was illness. But eventually, the mother took the child to see a woman who was known locally for dealing with strange things. And the woman said something they would never forget. She said the father had come home late one night and brought something back with him. Something from the crossroads. She said it had no face, no eyes, no mouth, just a shape. The shape of something that used to be low stand had decided to stop wandering. And since that night, it had been clinging to the child. That was why their body felt so heavy. That was why they could not stay awake. That was why they felt cold even under the sun. According to the story, the woman performed a ritual to send it away. After that, the weakness lifted. The sleepiness faded, and the life slowly returned to normal. But years later, the person still remembered one thing most clearly. The feeling that something with no face had leaned over them for days, saying nothing. The third story takes place in farmland in the middle of the night. This one was told by a man about something that happened when he was young. Back then, he worked with a donkey turning soil in the fields. The work was hard. Food was poor. He was thin, tired, and always exhausted. One night, he was asleep when he heard the donkey outside making noise. Then came the sound of rope snapping free. The donkey had broken loose. That was serious. If the animal ran off, there would be real trouble. So he jumped up and ran after it. Another young man sleeping nearby heard the noise too, but the storyteller was already outside and didn't wait for him. It was deep into the night, maybe 1 or 2 in the morning. There was no proper light, only the weak, pale glow of moonlight. And in that light, he could see the donkey standing ahead of him. Each time he got close, the animal moved away. Not running wildly, not vanishing into the dark, just moving a little farther, again and again, as if it wanted him to follow. He kept chasing it. The donkey stayed just far enough ahead that he could never quite grab it. Finally, it stopped near a small tree. He thought this was it. One more step, and he would catch, eat. Then suddenly, someone grabbed the back of his shirt and yanked him hard. A voice shouted, "What are you doing?" He turned around. It was the other young man from the sleeping room, the one who had followed him out. Then he looked down. One of his feet was already in the water. He was standing at the edge of a river. And the donkey? It was no longer in front of him. It was standing behind him, up on a dirt slope, far away from the water. That was when he realized something was terribly wrong. He had not been chasing the donkey. He had been led. According to the story, if the other young man had not followed him and pulled him back, he would have walked straight into the river and drowned in the dark. Later, people said the area had a bad reputation. Too many had died there. Too many had gone into the water and never come back out. Some said restless spirits lingered near the river looking for replacements. And that night, one of them almost found one. That is, What makes stories like these so difficult to dismiss completely, not because they can be proven, and not because they are easy to believe, but because people keep telling them the same way quietly, seriously, as if they are not trying to impress you, only to warn you, a dead man who spoke through dreams, a faceless thing brought back from a crossroads, a voice in the dark leading a man toward the river. Maybe they were misunderstandings, maybe fear filled in the blanks, or maybe, in some places, people still know things modern life has forgotten how to name. These were 3 paranormal stories still whispered about in rural China. And in Midnight China, they are only the beginning, because there are many more stories like these, stories buried in villages, in fields, at crossroads, and in houses where something was invited in and never fully left. Subscribe to Midnight China, and I'll see you in the dark